2 years ago, I asked a room full of boys to participate, and a lot of them ran from me. But a few of them I was able to convince. I had to have them a little bit of lunch. And then I also harassed one of them to introduce Ms. Wiseman today. So right now we have a senior, Mr. Owen Yeager, is going to tell us a little bit about Rosalind.
Each year, Wiseman works with tens of thousands of students, educators, parents, counselors, coaches, and administrators to create communities based on the belief that each person has a responsibility to treat themselves and others with dignity. In 2011, she was one of the principal speakers of the White House Summit on Gold. National media regularly depends on Wiseman as the expert on ethical leadership. National media regularly depends on Wiseman as the expert of ethical leadership, media literacy, and bullying prevention. Her newest book, Mastermind the Wingman, have been on the New York Times bestseller list since it was released and has already been reprinted 4 times. Her free downloadable guide for boys has been downloaded 10,000 times. The first time I met Ms. Wiseman was about 3 years ago, around this time of year. At first, I was a little worried to talk about my feelings, especially with a 40-year-old woman with my feelings. My parents have been trying to open me up for years, so I highly doubt she would be able to accomplish this task in a matter of an hour and a half. However, the unique personality and hard-headedness to get the truth out about her feelings eventually brought out her own table. The idea of a book for guys our age and surviving teen angst we battle every day is the reason I wanted to help Ms. Wiseman. If my input could relate to just one kid and help him get through a tough day, then my work would be worth it. I want to thank Ms. Wiseman for all the work she did to put all of our ideas together into a masterpiece that every boy can relate to. Thank you for allowing us young men to help you in the learning process.
Hi everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. Can we put my count a little bit? It's a little too high. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is I want to tell you a story. And the story is about a 7th grade boy. So imagine that you have a 7th grade son, and he is invited to a swim party. And this is a swim party that he's going to with his friends. 2 weeks before the swim party, he asks you to get a swim shirt. And you follow the way under the, I'll get a swim shirt the next time that I happen to go doing all the other things I have to do. Because it doesn't say anything about needing it at a particular time or why he needs it. So the party arrives. Party day arrives. You can't find him anywhere. You go to the room where you think he might be, he's not there. You say, John, time to go to the party, no answer. So the second level parenting voice, usually like a few minutes later, you say, John, time to go to the party, he doesn't answer. So you go to where the video games are usually played in your house, like a big screen, and there he is, molded into the couch playing video games, and you are so annoyed. He doesn't have his bathing, he doesn't have his bathing suit, nothing is ready. He's looking at you like, why? What do I have? Why are you even talking to me? Right? You just sit there, like, slumps over, you get super annoyed. You get him into the car. He doesn't really say anything. You think, he's like super ungrateful. I went and got that present for the kid on time, like that was difficult. Nothing, right? He's totally disrespecting his screen time. He's way over this, he's not listening to me, he loves playing these games, we should be getting ready for this swim party, and you're super annoyed. But you don't say anything because you're trying to make it pleasant in the car. You drop him off at the party. 3 hours later, you come back. You've done all your errands, you come back and you are ready to start afresh with your son. And so he gets into the car and you ask an extremely reasonable question. How was the party? And his response to you is, it was fine. You ask another very reasonable question. Who was there? And he says, like people that go to school with me. And you are back in 2 seconds to be highly, highly irritated again. So then you go back home, and before you even know it, he's upstairs yet again, and he's in front of the video game, and now he's now playing the most violent video game that you have, that you didn't even want him to have in the first place, but somehow got into your house, you don't know how. And he is like absolutely going after the person in the most violent way possible, and you think, okay, I'm raising a violent freak, and he does not respect my screen time. Now, here's the thing though. there's a lot going on beyond what you see. In fact, there's like so much going on, and it's right in front of your eyes, and it's right in front of you. But the problem is that you don't know. And what you don't know is that at the party, his really good friends, like guys he's been friends with forever, that what happened at the party was that one of them has been teasing him for the last 6 months about having man boobs, about having moves. Sometimes when they're walking across like after practice, sometimes he gets like flipped in his chest. And at the party, this kid told another boy, who's also a friend of your son's, to take a picture of your son when he got out of the pool, and then forward it to a girl that your son has a really big crush on. And in that moment, when your son got out of the pool, and the kid took the picture, another thing that happened was that his really good friend swam to the other side of the pool, like just swam away, because he didn't want to deal with what was happening. And another kid made a joke and tried to make it better, but it just felt so horrible and just like, it's so obvious to your son that that kid was feeling sorry for him. But does he tell you any of this? No. Do you know what he does? He goes home and he chooses the most violent game he can find because he really wants to take out all of his frustration on the kid that's being mean to him. So that's the first thing. But you don't know that. You look at this kid and you think he just likes playing his video games. Second thing that we don't know, or why won't he tell you, is because boys do not have, a language to talk about their bodies the way we do with girls all the time. So we don't talk to boys about being embarrassed about their bodies or about why they would be embarrassed about having man boobs. We don't do that. As we talk to girls about these kind of issues, we never talk to boys about these issues. In fact, it's about to be Halloween really soon. And I bet many of you who have girls that you can control their, what they buy for costumes. The boys just giggled. I just heard the boys giggle. That was very funny. Having a moment with boys, I'm just going to let that go. Is that when you can choose when your girls' costumes for Halloween when they're little, there's a lot of debate and there's a lot of people talking about like what's cute and what's totally inappropriate for girls. And how horrible it is when companies do things that are super sexual for girls for Halloween costumes. But for boys, the very first costumes that boys always get are superhero costumes, and they all have six-packs sewn into them now. All of them do. But we never think about how that would affect a boy and his body image, ever. So there's a language that we don't even have for boys, and boys don't think they should talk about it because it's terribly embarrassing for them to even think this is something that they should be dealing with or feel bad about. The other thing that's going on is that your son won't tell you because he has a very deep concern. And the very deep concern is that you know you might do something about it. And if you do something about it, his life is going to get worse. And he really believes that, by the way. So all of these things all mush together so that your son's not going to tell you what's going on. What you might see besides the video game is him going after his sibling, right? Because he's furious at what happened at the party. So when he sees somebody that he can sort of beat up on or go after or humiliate, he might do that to one of your kids. And so then you're going to get angry at him because he's being a bully, being mean to one of the siblings, and it doesn't take away from, like you shouldn't be doing it, but he's doing it in response to something that you have no idea about. So what's happening is that we often are not seeing what's going on in our boys' lives, even though they are right in front of us, and it really creates a disengagement of ourselves from our boys, and we love our boys, and we want good relationships with them. But if you ask your son John, is something wrong? He would probably say to you, it's fine, don't worry about it. I'm good. So we have to break through this wall. And boys are very tricky. I've worked with girls for a very long time. I'm known for working with girls. Girls. Not that tricky. Boys are tricky. Boys are tricky because they look so simple. So I'm going to talk to you about how it is that I got here, and in fact, actually, how I literally got here to the school to do this project, which has become really a campaign about how we change the conversation that we are having about boys and with boys. Because let's be really, really clear here. These boys have the right to emotional lives and healthy relationships They have the right to have passion about things and to claim that passion. They have the right to feel depressed and to be able to talk about that and to not feel ashamed about that and to ask for help. Our boys have that right, and we have to support them. If we do not support them, they suffer, and we all suffer. So I could talk to you at length about many statistics about how boys are suffering academically, and for their mental health, their emotional health. But what's extraordinary, one that's particularly important to me, is that for every 100 girls who commit suicide, 549 boys do. Our boys are having a very hard time asking for help, and they get isolated, and they feel like they can take it off, they can take everything themselves, and part of that is totally appropriate. They want to be able to take things on themselves, which is fine to a certain extent, but they need to be able to know to ask for help is okay. It's part of being a strong, confident man, is being able to ask for help, and it's a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. So I knew after working for 20 years with kids that boys needed this. But I knew also that I wasn't doing the work, I wasn't giving them what they needed. I could see it in the work that I was doing with boys when they would ask me for advice. I could tell that I was not giving them the advice that was the right on advice. So what I did 2.5, 3 years ago is I said to boys around the country, please tell me how to do better. Pull back the curtain on boy world so we understand you better, so we don't give you advice that you think is so stupid. How can we do this? You're going to have to help me with this. So I went to schools around the country and said, please, are there any boys that you can give me, not just like your perfect boys that like you try out when you want to introduce people to your community, but not just those boys. I want all different kinds of boys. And so some schools responded immediately, and one of those schools was Collegiate. Another school that's represented here too, I started working with called Wiseman. Now, from there, I started doing all of this work, talking to boys around the country. So I was continuing to work every 3 months, 4 months, I would come back here and to other places around the country. But I was also speaking around the country to high schools and middle schools. At the end of those presentations, I would say to them, I'm writing this book for boys, I'm writing this book for parents, this Masterminds and Wingmen, and I'm also writing this book for high school boys. This is called The Guide, Managing Douchebags, Recruiting Wingmen, and Attracting Who You Want. Adults in the room, this book is not for you. This is not for you. This is not, the tone of this book is not the tone that you might like. Say it that way. It's for the boys. So we did a book for the adults, and we did a book for the boys. Now, if you have a young man in your life, and you're thinking, okay, well, I have a young man who told me that I want him to read this book. I'm going to say this to you right now, and I'll say it to you later, which is please, for those of you who get excited about this kind of stuff, like you come to these kinds of things and you get excited about making the world a better place, which I'm super into, that's great, you just got to control your eyes. So, particularly sons to mothers with the eyes, the enthusiastic eyes, when mothers get super enthusiastic about things and they get like, okay, I need you to control the eyes. Because the son can see your eyes from a very long way away, and he wants nothing to do with whatever you're about to get him. So please, do everybody a favor, including all the boys that work so hard on this book, is please do not go home and say, I found this thing that I think would be really good for you. Please wait for this. Doesn't work. So, my suggestion to you is, if you'd like to download it, it's for free. This is free. You can get it on Amazon, iTunes, wherever. Just send it to him. This includes any other thing that you think is interesting. Do not send to your son a text that says why you think something is interesting. Right? So just send it to him. Don't make any comments about it. Just send it to him. And do not ask him, like, 24 hours later if he has read it. So the most I would like for you to say is like, hey, did you get that thing that I sent you? Because he will know what you're talking about. And then don't ask any follow-up questions. All right, I'm going to say this to the end, because some people are challenged about this. In the back of Masterminds and Wingmen that is telling you to not, giving you instructions, okay? Right. So we have this campaign, and here's the difference. As I went around the country, and I asked boys, some boys would come to me in public after the presentations, and they would talk to me and say, I want to do this, I want to help you. But a lot of other boys would find me after I presented to their school for 45 minutes. They would find me on Twitter and they'd say, I want to help. Most of them were very secretive. In fact, one group of 3 boys in California that went to the same school, same grade, did not know that they were each helping with the book until 2 months ago. They helped me for 2 years. They knew each other. They were partying with each other all the time, and they did not know that each of them was helping. Now, I want you to compare this. And I said the thing about passion. What I'm worried about, forget the statistics, is that boys have a right to claim passion for making the world a better place and for making their lives better. They have the right to actually articulate that, but they're being told in many different ways that they can't. So I'm going to give you a juxtaposition actually that I was remembering that I experienced at this school. I was a year into working here, and the boys were incredible. It interested me. They've got to figure out, like, they could actually argue with me, and then once they figured that out, they never stopped arguing with me. But about a year into it, I was walking down the hall, and this is very typical of girls. I was walking down the hall, and a group of girls basically cornered me. They were seniors at the time, juniors and seniors, and they cornered me in the hall. Now, I don't know if you all have ever been cornered by a group of high school girls. It can be very scary. I don't care how old you are, I don't care whatever. It was like, what have I done wrong, right? So they corner me and they say, we need to talk to you. And I said, oh, okay, what did I do? And they said, you are talking to our friends, and you're only getting one side of the story. So we need to talk to you to make sure that it's a balanced story, which is actually completely appropriate. The reason I'm bringing this up is because they had no problem coming to me in public and saying, I want to change something. Very few boys feel that way. So we need to make them feel like they can claim their passion. Whatever that passion is, within sane reasons and limits, they get to claim their passion. If we get that, and we get them to the place where they feel that being a strong man includes being able to go through hard times, and that social connection and human relationships are part of being able to navigate this very difficult life, that messy life that we always have, these boys will be better. I'm absolutely clear about it. So let me give you, I put this in today and forgot. For those of you who would like to use the school version, I'm working on a school version, you'll notice that the title has been slightly changed. So if you don't like the word douchebags and it makes you uncomfortable, and remember the book is not for you, you can use this, you can use this, and you can feel more comfortable. Okay, now, how do we get boys to talk to us and how do we get boys engaged? So I'm going to give you my overall sort of viewpoint about this and also how the boys move in groups. But I want you to understand that the book and these presentations I have to pick very carefully the things that I have to choose or else we'll be here for 6 hours. So, or like I'll be here by myself and you'll be out having dinner. So the book covers, this is what in general what I want you to understand, is the social dynamics of boys, the social hierarchies of schools the boys believed were the most present for them. We went into a course about sports and about what sports means to them and about making the team, getting cut from the team, and what happens when you're a freshman and you get on varsity, which is very complicated socially, very complicated. What do you do when you've been, like, how do you manage, the book talks about lying, about why boys lie. There's many different reasons boys lie. It also includes when boys have low social skills and are not picking up on basic social skills that many of us depend on, and how they can easily look like they are perpetrators of bullying and aggression, or victims or targets of that kind of aggression. So the book does a very wide range of the things that boys are dealing with. And let me say to you, and we have people that can ask later in the Q&A, that there was not one page of both of these books that was not vetted by these boys. So I would go through and give advice to you all, and I would say to the boys, okay, if I give this advice to mom or dad, at what point would you stop listening? And they would say, it usually was like on the 4th or 5th line, right there. Right there what you said is so irritating and annoying, I'm not listening to anything you said afterwards. So then we would change it, and we would debate it, and we would alter it. So when we go to like look at the concepts and the goals that we're trying to do, these are the 4 things that I keep in mind when I'm a mom, and as I have 2 boys, they're 10 and 12, and as a teacher, as an educator. and somebody who cares deeply about young people. So, young people and we all need these four things. We need meaning beyond oneself. We need a hope of success, not a guarantee, but a hope. We need social connection. It makes life worth living to have meaningful social connection. And we need satisfying work. If school can be like this, actually that's pretty awesome. We think about that as a way to think about school. The problem is that conflict is absolutely inevitable, right? No matter what, you're going to get into conflict with people. So for those of you who have younger boys or younger kids, like 5 and younger, who are doing that thing and trying to get into the best situations in schools so that they will never experience conflict, this is the wrong talk for you. Because I'm going to tell you that conflict is absolutely inevitable, and being on a playground at 6, those are some serious conflicts that go down in games. Serious. You're learning how to negotiate social dynamics at very, very young ages. So conflict is inevitable, and it is also true that abuse of power is inevitable. Your child will experience abuse of power. They will witness it, they will receive it, or they will do it. They can have all different kinds of experiences with this, but they will experience it. So the goal is that we help children do 2 things. Young people do 2 things. One is that they learn to navigate conflict competently. They are socially competent. That's the goal, which is messy. It is a messy process, it's a long road, incredibly difficult. 2 is that we do it with a bedrock understanding that dignity is not negotiable for themselves or for other people. And dignity means to be worthwhile, that you have the right to have your voice heard, that nobody can take that away from you. I tend to think that respect is earned, because it's based on what the Latin derivation and meaning of it is, which is you look back on someone's merit, what they've done, their achievements, and you respect it. And dignity, dignitas means to be worthy. So to me, I focus on the word dignity instead of the word respect. If I say the word respect to a young man, then I'm going to say what it looks like, what it feels like, and imagining as it walks down the hallway. So dignity you just get. So these are the 2 underlying concepts. When I was going through with the boys, why would you lie to your parents? What are the reasons? Or how do you handle when you make a huge mistake? How do you own it? How do you actually give a transformative, genuine apology? Especially because, if you think about this, the boys are living in a culture that is constantly giving them examples of totally hypocritical apologies, where people only apologize because they get caught. And when they do give apologies, it's basically things where a person says, I'm sorry if I offended you, which is not an apology. It is an anti-apology. So how do we teach boys how to do things like this and how do we model, truly role model these things, so that we are credible to young people? That's the deal. We have got to be credible. And that means that we have to own the mess of our lives, that things are messy, that we get into conflicts, that things are really difficult, sometimes we don't handle them well, and that if we go through the process with those 2 things, of trying to maintain social competence and dignity, then we will, in the eyes of our boys, be worthy of their respect. We will. That's what they want. They can deal with us being messy. We've got to own the difficulty of what we're dealing with. And we think about conflict being inevitable. One of the ways in which we see this the most is in friend groups. So I'm going to talk to you, we've got probably people with different ranges of boys in this room, from like little ones to kids who are 18. I will only say to you that you can see groups, inner groups, when kids are on the playground in elementary school. 2nd grade, 3rd grade, no problem. All you need to do is go look and see right before school starts, if the boys are playing basketball or soccer or foursquare or whatever, the rules that the boys are implementing. So who, for example, gets to call a redo, and is that taken seriously? Because one kid can say redo and everybody blows them off. Another kid says redo and the whole world stops and you do the redo. How does that happen? Why does that kid have that power? Why do other kids listen to him? What if somebody actually tries to resist that? Well, what happens? How does he handle that? How does he handle confrontation? How does that work? So you can see this, the boys, the guys and I came up with. This was about a year of debating the roles of the boys in the group. Now, some of you might not have boys that have an inner circle of friends, like 4 to 8 boys in a group. And I certainly go over that in other ways, in other parts of the book, when I write the shoes. But for those of you who have boys that are in groups, of this inner circle, what we call the inner circle, there were positions and roles that people played that exhibited patterns of behavior, especially in conflicts or abuse of power, that were very important. So I'm going to show you this, I'm going to show you how the boys and I decided what were the definitions of these roles and why. So the first one is mastermind. And I'm trying to think right now, all the way on the plane over, how do I do this with the government shutdown? Who's the mastermind? Who's all the roles I'm about to show you? And it's sort of unclear. I know which one of them is, but I'm just a little unclear. So, mastermind directs the group's movements. So I want you to imagine a group of middle school boys and they're eating lunch. Whoever gets up first, who signifies that lunch is over, is your mastermind. He directs the group's movements. He gives ultimate approval to his friends about everything, from sneaker choice to political positions to what video game they're going to play to which girls are hot to there be some debate about that. But I'm going to have you guys. I feel I've got my editors here, so it's like I have to put them somewhere else because I feel like I should be left laughing. So he gives ultimate approval to friends. He decides that. And this is tricky. You're not sure how intelligent this child is until his power is threatened. There have been times as an educator when I've dealt with a mastermind where when I found out some horrendous thing he's done, that I thought, my first reaction to it was, who knows that they did that? He's not smart enough. But that is part of his power. That is part of his Machiavellian genius. But he hides it. He hides it. It's very tricky. So, for example, at a school somewhat like this one, like nice school, nice family, everyone looks nice, right? Is that one of the kids that I was working with, one of the classes I was working with, had a kid who's really having a hard time being a decent human being. He was, I'm sure, I have confidence that I hope he will be at some point, but he was having a hard time with it. And he was hazing a boy who was a freshman, he was a junior, and he was sexually harassing a girl. So the school finally suspended him. And so what he did, super smart, was he went down to the restaurant that's down the hill from the school, and he basically held court there. And his inner circle friends paid homage to him on their free periods. And then, as a sign of protest of the social injustice of this boy being suspended for 2 days, the boys wore black armbands around their arms, and they went around school, on school campus, wearing these black armbands, which shows it's really very tough for a school when that kind of stuff happens, because the amount of social power that young man has, even though he's not on campus, is powerful. Very powerful. And let's not at this moment get into irresponsible parents who leave their children. Say that the parents went away and they went to a movie, for God's goodness sake. They went to a movie and out to dinner for 4 hours, which I think we should be allowed to do. So, and you have a 16-year-old son, and he invites his friends over, and these are his friends, and you've known them forever. And whatever happens, and this great, loud music, you went to a 9:30 movie, say you went to dinner at 7:30, and you went crazy and went to a 10 o'clock movie. And you could stay up and not fall asleep, right? You go to a 10 o'clock movie, which means you're coming at 12:30, and you made the mistake of telling your son which movie you were going to, so he knows exactly when you're coming home, right? Okay. So the police come, because the music's loud, and who are they going to send out? The conscience. So the conscience is going to say, I'm really sorry, sir. You're right, the music is really loud. I know we're being interrupted. I know, I'm sorry. Because there's a lot of smart police officers out there, and they know exactly when they're being managed by a mastermind, right? When the mastermind says to the police officer, oh, sir, I totally understand. We'll take it down. Don't worry, sir, I got it. The police officers that I know and work with on these books, they're like, I hate that kid. I'm right into the house when I see the, oh, sir, don't worry about it, right? I mean, anytime a young man like that says to me, don't worry about it, I say, let me see what's going on, right? My whole career, that's the thing I worry about the most. When a mastermind kid says to me, Ms. Wiseman, don't worry about it, right? Okay, so God is smart. Let's give credit where credit is due. This is smart. This is not like simple boys that never think about anything. These are calculating, very smart, sophisticated people, all right? Who are awesome people at the same time. Just like girls. We're just messy. All right. So we've got the other part that I talked about, and this is the champion, and I hate having a role called the champion because one of the boys said, please don't even put that in the book because then my mom's going to read it and she's going to totally think I'm like that and I'm not like that, and I got just don't put that in there. I would rather, when we think about champion, instead of like, you are a champion, which is weird, is looking for moments of social justice to be a champion about. So you ease into the moment. I want boys, because what boys do in many different ways is they see something bad that's going on, it's in their gut making them feel like something is running off the rails. And because of the way, in many ways, I go into masterminds about how boys are conditioned, that the response when their gut goes off is to laugh, to convince themselves they don't have to do anything about it, whatever is in front of them. And humor is an extremely complicated, interesting concept in the boy world, about how it's used, about how boys use humor in a moment that's very uncomfortable. And it's much easier to laugh or not say anything. So that's an important moment that goes to a legacy into the future of the boys as they get older into high school. So that when the boys are younger, and I want you to really think about this, if they are having consistent small conflicts, I'm not talking about in these inner circles like these fights, these huge conflicts, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the little tiny moments of the conflicts between the boys, the power struggles, like, and I'm serious about this. Are we playing COD or are we playing Halo? In 7th grade is a big deal. It's a big deal. You could get completely decimated right now for liking Halo. If you have Grand Theft Auto 5 and you were in 7th or 8th grade, you get a lot of cultural credibility amongst the boys, and you figured out how to get it past your parents, right? You can convince your parents somehow to get GTA 5. I can't even look in this line right now. I can talk about GTA 5, I'm happy to do so, and I won't even look here. So this is really important because it's about those little tiny power struggles and how you decide those small things as they get older, and especially, and I know this community a little bit, to say that you all know each other. These kids are going to school with each other for a long time. Even if they go to school across the street, they still know each other. So the conflict, the small conflicts grow, the kids grow, and then their problems, their conflicts, by the time they get into high school, they have a pattern of not speaking truth to power. Literally, to their best friends. And I will only say that as they get older in junior and senior year, if they are in a place where it is totally normal to be drinking, and it is normal meaning common, to take pictures of people doing things that are embarrassing and humiliating, and it is normal to not say anything, be common, to a pattern behavior where you don't speak truth to power in your friendships and relationships, you're literally not going to be triggered that whatever is happening in front of you that's really a problem, you are going to convince yourself and your patterns and conditions do nothing when it's in front of you. Now afterwards, people go, but nice boys. How do these nice boys from these nice families do these terrible things? In my experience, that is that usually there's maybe 1 or 2 boys. 1 is all it takes. And it's not every year, it's once in a while. And it's enough that it makes a big difference. Who thinks it's funny to go after people, humiliate them, and have power over people. That's like where he is in his life right now. And if he has social power over the boys, they will not stop him. It's extraordinarily, this way. It's extraordinarily difficult for them to stop him. And then you look at these boys, and you see them on TV or like on these videos that we see, and they're laughing and saying totally ridiculous things. This is not to excuse the boys. What I'm saying is that we have to understand the dynamics that lead them to get to that place. If we understand the pattern of behavior, then we can identify it, talk to the boys, and maybe have a better chance of stopping. So I'm going to go through with you how to talk to your sons to get them to do so so that we get them, remember from that swim party, how do we get the boy to talk? How do we get this boy to talk to you? So this is how I'm going to explain it to you. So sit, this is just come on me. Excuse me, I have to go Britney Spears. Hold on. I think she probably takes it like all the way to her skull. Okay. So we've now explained this whole like landscape view. I'm going to go backwards now. How do we get this young man to talk to us? Right to the swim partner. So imagine it's horrible to your younger child, and you think, have you lost your mind to your son? Here's the building blocks that I want to give you so that you get to a place where when your son goes through a problem, he talks to you. So this might sound really strange, but this is what the boys and I came up with, and it seems to be working out not only with my own kids, not only with my own students, but it's working for me as a mom. I did not write this book because I had sons. I swear to you, I did not. I wrote it because I believe very strongly that there were so many boys I was working with, and I thought so passionately about helping them. But it certainly, by working with the boys, helped me communicate better with my own children. So I'm going to give you some of the snapshots, some of the highlights for me. And one of them replicated around the country that occurred in the school, but also replicated exactly similarly around the country. And this is this. Experts like me, and me on occasion, have often said to people, when you get your child in the car, you need to ask them lots of questions. You need to ask them lots of questions because that will show your love and interest in your child. One of the first conversations that I had that blew me away with the boys saying, can you please get my mother to stop asking questions? Please, please, please. I get into the car, one of the boys know how to say to me, I get into the car, and my mother every single day says to me, what are the 5 most important things that happened to you today? And he said to me, he's like, the woman totally exhausts me. Which is absolutely fair. So I want you to think of it from the boy's perspective. If you have an emotionally healthy relationship with your son, no matter how fabulous of a school it is, he has to develop a certain kind of armory, a persona that he walks around the school. So when he sees you, or when he comes home, he wants to decompress and relax. You asking him tons of questions does not allow him to do that. The second part is that I want you to think about it in terms of yourself. I want you to really think about your son the moment you come in from work, and your son's saying to you, so, did you answer all your emails today? Did you have that meeting with that person who totally hates you or is totally sabotaging everything you do? Did you handle that? Did you confront that person? How'd that go? Do you need to talk about that some more? Like really? Because we might need to do some more work on that, because really that's a problem. Let's do this right now. You want to do this right now? Think about it from their point of view. This is exhausting. So, when you see them at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, what I would ask you to do is get them in the car, you see them, and just say, hey, that's it. Just like, that's it. Give them some peace. Just like, hey, what's up? Like, but not like, what's up? But like, hey, what's up? Relax. Okay? Now, they need to do jobs in the, they have to get their business done, like walk the dog and stuff like that. They need to do that. I'm not saying they get a pass for like being a responsible member of the family. I just don't want you barraging them with questions. Because the irony is, the more questions we ask them in that moment, the more they disengage from us. And what happens then, and think about this from a parenting point of view, is that we've got to get ourselves out of ourselves. Is that the boys disengage and they shut down and say, it's fine, right? School is fine. And then oftentimes the parent feels, men and women, feel that the son is disengaging from them, is disconnecting, it's like withholding information from them. And they get upset about it. So then they personalize it. It is not about you. I mean, it is about you because you're asking kind of annoying questions. But you really, this is not about you, it's about your son needs some space. Now, how do you do this? I would suggest talking, there's lots of different suggestions, but here's one that the boys told me. If you're at that place where your kids are going to bed at like 9, like I go to bed at 10:30. I can't keep my eyes open past 10:32. So if your kids are my kids' ages, maybe they're going to bed at like 9, 9:30, there's this window, right, where the kids are in bed and they're reading or whatever, it's dark. There's like a 5-minute like moment right there where it's dark, but they're not asleep yet, and you're still basically awake, right? So go into their rooms and it's dark. It has to be dark. Ideally, it should be dark. And you sit at the foot of the bed. The reason you want it to be dark is because, I'll speak for myself, you might be different. I raise my eyebrow. My sons flip out. If I sigh, they tell me that I'm freaking out on that, right? But I do, it is true that when I sigh, I'm super irritated at them. But I want this to no light because if they can't respond to your face. So I just want you to sit on the foot of the bed and I want you to say, is there anything, like numbers, basically like, is there anything that's important for you that I should know about? Don't say, is there anything important I should know? Because that's different. That's like, I'm really trouble, I need to know that, right? It's like, do you think, is there anything, like, I just want to check in. Do not expect a Hallmark conversation in that moment. Your son can say, like, no, I'm good. Like, what is he doing, right? What is he doing? You can be talked to, so when he's upset about something, that he can trust you, all right? You can trust that you are going to be, like, a calm person, all right? Second, you are aggravated and annoyed and angry with your son. This actually also is really fundamental to be able to get him to talk to you when he's upset. I know this might sound crazy, but it's true. So when you are mad at your son, parents have a tendency to get extremely angry, blow up, and repeat themselves. This is not effective. I do it myself. Here's my suggestion. You know before you go into the conversation that you are going to have 3 points. You will say these 3 points no matter what he says to distract you, annoy you, get you off your game. You're going to say these 3 points. You're going to say them in 3 minutes. You are not going to repeat yourself. If you hear yourself repeat it, you're going to say, I'm repeating myself, and now I'm going to stop. So when you're angry, do that. Now here's another suggestion. Your children might have a little thing that they do when you're about to leave. You have a million things you don't need them in the car. You need to be going somewhere. They start fighting with you about something. Honestly, I think sometimes they do this on purpose, or they ask you for something right as you got about, like, or they're telling you something that you shouldn't really know about, so they're trying to distract you, so you say yes, and then they can say later that you said yes, and then you don't remember, right? So you're walking out the door, and all this thing is happening. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Massachusetts, and I spoke to the kids. There was only a presentation, one of those things. Spoke to the kids in the morning. I spoke to the parents in the evening. Then I did a book signing. At the end of the book signing, so this was late at night, a young man who was like 6'4" and like 200, and he was huge. He was a lineman for the football team. Was waiting for me, and he said, I really need to talk. I want to talk to you. So I pull up a chair, and some other guys I pull up a chair too. Not really sure how that happened, but he said, I'm so angry at my father. I hate him. I hate him. I cannot have any conversations with him anymore without it becoming like a huge battle. I hate him. I was like, okay, well, can you give me an example? And he said, well, yes, like, I come home, I'm playing football, I'm practicing all the time, I've got tons of homework, my dad sees me, I'm doing my homework, and he says, can you take out the trash? And I say, yeah, but can my brother take out the recycling? And my dad says, fine, now you're going to take out the trash for a month, for a month. And the kid, his name is Will, was like, I cannot even, I can't do anything without some guy coming down on me like this. I hate it, I hate him. It's always like this. I can't stand it. Now clearly, if he's waiting for me for hours, he wants a meaningful relationship with his father. He loves his father. He wants a better relationship with his dad. So what we worked on, and this is in the high school book for the boys, is, well, I said, okay, where's the best like relaxing time for your dad? And he said, watching a football game after work. I said, great. When there's an advertisement, read the advertisement, and I want you to tell him exactly what you don't like, exactly what you want. And need you to acknowledge, maybe there have been times when he's asked you to take out the trash and you have not done it right away. Because like, in a minute that'll take out the trash means very different things sometimes, right? To a 17-year-old person than to a parent. Because parents done right now, as in the second, as in 4 minutes before I even said it. It's a little different, right? So it's really understandable that the parent might be really frustrated. At the same time, the way he was speaking about it was totally damaging his relationship with his son. So Will and I went through how to do this and how to communicate this. So what happens? You know the eyes I was talking about in the very beginning? That you like the enthusiasm eyes, like you want to, I have those eyes. I'm very guilty of having these eyes with my students. So they talk about these horrible things they're going through and we're going to get ready to confront the person, and then they don't tell me what happens. Like, and I'm dying inside, like I want to know what happens. So Will, of course, is not, he's like, okay, I'm going to go tell my dad, I've got this whole thing, we're going to do it right. I don't hear anything. I'm like doing some speech, whatever I'm doing, I'm thinking, oh, I want to know what happened with Will. So I write Will and I say, Will, what's up? How's Dad? How did that work? And he's like, oh, he's Wiseman. I totally did it, and it worked. Like, he sat down, it was incredible. Now that, for me, 2 guys, I don't know how big Will's dad was. I'm guessing he was 300 pounds. Sitting down, watching a football game during an advertisement, and they have this thing where they have a conversation why I do this. Because Will felt like things were better and they could talk to his father, and these conversations were important to him. So dads, I want you to remember what it was like to be these boys' ages, because a lot of guys sometimes seem to buy into the stereotype that boys are stupid and boys are simple and they don't have a lot going on, they don't feel betrayal, they don't feel rejection, their friendships are meaningful to them. Sometimes I think that dads are forgetting this. They bought into this stereotype as well. And moms, you must be ethical leaders with your sons. You must. I know you're bigger. I have a child who's 12, who's 6 feet 2 and 175 pounds. It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's horrible. And now, I have a young man in my house who's 12 years old. But we have to be, no matter how big they are, we have to be ethical leaders to them. So I'm going to give you something super, super straight up about this. Don't cry when you're angry at them. It doesn't work. The boys they don't feel bad about it, not most of them. They don't like it. If you feel bad, there's every right to your feelings, well, of course you do. But you have to stand your ground with these boys. Go into a closet, go into your room later and cry. Put your head down on your bed and go, this boy is going to bring me my knees, but not in front of him. Right? You can tell him that you're exhausted, you can tell him that this is hard, but the boys have said to me really clearly that when their mothers cry, they think they're being manipulated. Don't do it. Don't do it. And dads, if you see that the moms are not being respected, let the moms stand on their own. It's great to have the dad behind them saying, don't talk to your mother like this, but it's even more important for the mothers to be there themselves and say, you may not treat me this way. I am your mother, you will respect me, you will treat me with dignity, and you will treat all women this way. Right? You gotta have that mom, serious tone voice. You're not asking to be treated with dignity by your sons, you are demanding. And what is so amazing to me is that so many women mothers feel, that if they stand their ground with their sons, their relationships will fracture, the boys will move away. It is clear to me that when mothers stand their ground, treat their sons with dignity, but demand to be treated with dignity as well, the boys come closer. Absolutely clear to me. So the last thing that I want to say to you about how do we talk to our boys, well, geez, when I said to you this foundation of how we get our boys to want to talk to us, if your son comes to you with a problem, what I suggest that you say is, I'm really sorry, thank you for telling me, together we're going to work on this. There's lots of other things people say in those situations. I would suggest that you say those 3 things. I'm so sorry, thank you for telling me, together we're going to work on this. If your son says to you, like I said in the very beginning, well, can I tell you this and you still promise not to do anything, what I would like you to say is, I would love to make this promise, but I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. So what I can do is that you and I, if we need to find somebody else, well, thank you. What I can do is, if you and I need to find somebody else who knows more than I do about it, then we can think through that thing together. So men in the room. Now this is true of women too, for boys and for girls, but I just want to put a little thing for men in the room, which I'm so pleased some of you are here, is that for you to say to your son or a boy in your life, everybody has situations that are overwhelming to them. I have. So it is not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It is a capacity, it is a strength. And I'm going to show that, and we're going to go find somebody who can help us do this. It's literally a transformational moment for boys. It is a lifeline to them sometimes. You could be dealing with a kid who says, I'm fine, who is dying inside. You saying that to him gives him a lifeline out. It's going to be transformational to a boy. So I want you to think about that. It's a capacity, it is not a weakness. Your child comes to you because they've seen something that they don't like. Recognize it and say, thank you so much for telling me. I can imagine how difficult that was for you to tell me, and now let's think through what to do about it. Because that's what we're building capacity and social competency. And if they're worried about snitching versus reporting, the way I define it is that snitching is you want to get the person in trouble. That's how you define it. That's the motivation. And reporting is you want the problem to go away. So snitching is you want the problem to get bigger, and reporting is you want the problem to get smaller. Boys and girls, of course, but they all need this through their lives. Because it ties so much to the boys about loyalty, and about what true loyalty means, which is often speaking truth to power to your friends. All right. Now, my last thing. What if you get a bad news bomb? What if you get a call or an email that you're thinking, my child is insane, I must be insane, or the person who's talking to me is insane? All I want you to think about is this. When you get a bad news bomb, I want you to think it's a lifetime, it is not a life sentence. I mean, it's a life moment, it's not a life sentence. About your kid being bullied, your kid having a problem, it is a moment in time. How you respond to it is what is transformative. Second, if somebody is coming at you a million miles an hour and you're super anxious and super angry, I've had this happen to me several times. This is what I do. I say, I really want to hear you right now. You can do your own, this is suggestions. I really want to hear you, but my heart is beating so fast I cannot hear you. Literally, my heart beats so fast and people are telling me my children are terrible that I cannot hear them. So I say, my heart is beating really fast, I cannot hear you. So can you please tell me again? If they're cussing you out, you say, I cannot process what you're saying, you're talking to me like this, but I want to hear you. So please come back and talk to me when you can do that. Now, with your child, here's the deal. You get a bad news thing, you say, is that accurate? I just heard X, is that accurate? If your child says any of it, 1% of it is accurate, your job as the parent is to say, well, that person, that's their emotional truth, that's their truth, you can't take it away. Nobody can take that away from you about the way you saw something, but you can't take it away from somebody else. You will be genuinely apologizing. And if you don't, because sometimes it takes a while, so I guess it's a place where you can apologize, I'm going to apologize on your behalf. I'm just going to say I'm really sorry for what my son did, and if you have a repeated problem, here's my mobile number. Here you go, right? Your child will hate you. That's fine, right there. You'll remember it forever. You can ask my children, they know exactly the moment that happened. So, it's the third thing, where your child is having a moment of being aggressive to me, or horrible, is you say to your child, that's important for me to know. That doesn't take away from the fact of why we're here. So I need to address this. I will hold you accountable for this behavior. Then he will deal, so I can hear you about this other stuff. But if you have a child who is very argumentative with you, who is very focused on getting his way, I will only ask you to say this in. If the life of the target becomes more difficult as a result of this conversation right here, then you and I are at a different level of a problem. Because what we don't want to do, because the boys feel that if they talk, it will get worse, right? Somebody's going to go make his life worse. Revenge will occur. I would ask you if your son has social power. If you might have a moment that's going to justify you using that social power for that. To say to him, the life of the target becomes more difficult as a result of this conversation, i.e. you walk out the door and you text the bouncer, go after this kid. You're in a whole different level of a problem. Don't say this is an ultimatum. Just say this is a statement of my family values and our family values, what we stand for, are absolutely in opposition of you taking revenge on other people. And if you do that, I will have to hold you accountable. Okay? Now that is tricky, difficult stuff. Very unpleasant. But it's transformative to the boys. And I will say to you, if you do this, the boys actually, what's so strange, is that they trust you more. That's the word they use, is they trust you more, because they are holding the line that they want to see. So I'm going to hand it over to Carrie. I want to thank this school for providing the leadership that it did for me. It's not a small thing to allow somebody to come in and have access to your students and say, give me all your stuff, right? Tell me exactly what's going on in your lives. That's scary. So I really want to say to both schools, it was an extraordinary leap of faith, not only in me, and I really appreciate that. I want to publicly acknowledge that. And what I want you to think about when you leave here tonight is I want you to think of the young man of who came, why did you come here? For what young man did you come here for? And think about how important your relationship with him is. And own it and claim it. Transform it in whatever way you think it needs to be. Thank you very much.